In today's video, I got another tier list for you guys. We're going to be looking at the best and the worst ways to spend $10,000 in your 20s. Now you might be sitting there and saying to yourself, yo bro, I don't got $10,000. If you don't got $10,000, that's completely okay. The knowledge in this video is still going to apply towards any amount of money you actually have. And if you happen to have $10,000, this is how I would personally use it to protect and grow some of that money and some of the things I would try to stay away from. So if you guys like the tier list, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead, let's get into the first one. And just for some added clarity, some of the things on these tier lists aren't gonna add up to a full $10,000. Some might be a little below, some might be a little above. So just wanna say that too before we get into the first one. All right, so to kick off this list here, we have buying a used reliable car for $10,000. This is probably one of the best things that you can do for your finances in your 20s. And I know a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking I'm crazy, saying that there's still reliable used cars for under $10,000. Look, I know cars are getting more expensive, but they're definitely out there. They're not super easy to find. You are going to have to do your research and hope that the cars around you are good to pick from. But I will promise that you can find them out there. And it's one of those things that if you have a used reliable car and you take care of it, you change the oil, you do the basic services, you change the fluids, these cars, Toyotas, Hondas, whatever it might be, they'll last you decades. Like, they're not going to go bad anytime soon. And also having a paid off car, especially a used reliable one, it's going to free up a lot of your monthly expenses, because not only is it going to save you money on interest and insurance, it's going to reduce a lot of your financial stress, and all that extra money that would be going to a car payment, you can now use that towards saving and investing and learning new skills, whatever it might be. And unfortunately, a lot of people in their 20s wrap themselves up in these huge monthly car payments because they want to drive something that looks cool or think they deserve it, when they don't understand that they're just cooking themselves financially. So overall, having a paid off used reliable car for $10,000, this is life-changing. No debate about it. Next up on the list here is donating to streamers. And I pray to God no one is donating anything close to $10,000. But even if you're donating over $1, I just don't know what we're doing here. This is something I've never been able to wrap my head around. Look, I get supporting creators you enjoy. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. But there are some people out here who are sending money that they genuinely cannot afford to lose just to get a 3-second shout out from someone. And more than likely, the streamers that they're donating to are already in the best financial situations ever. Most of them are multimillionaires. So I literally just don't understand someone in a bad financial situation donating to an already millionaire. And that money that's being donated, that can literally go towards anything. It can go towards investing, debt payoff, emergency funds, savings, whatever it might be. Literally anything else that can improve your life in the short term or the long term. So I understand entertainment, but if you're, financially destroying yourself because you're donating to streamers, this is just speedrunning poverty. I do not get anyone who does this. Next up on the list here is gambling. And unfortunately, in the society we're in, it seems like people have completely forgotten that gambling is a true addiction, and people have lost their families and their life savings over gambling addictions. And unfortunately, every single time you open your phone, it seems like we're all just bombarded with gambling ads, sports betting ads, prediction markets, poly market, whatever it might be. And gambling is probably the easiest way to turn your $10,000 into absolute dust. And the worst part about gambling is you'll usually get some average guy who wins once, and all of a sudden he thinks he's good at it and he has knowledge that normal people don't have, which is usually just going to lead him to imploding his finances. And a lot of people treat gambling like investing for some reason, but it's completely different. Investing, if you do it the right way, is going to build you wealth over a long period of time slowly, while gambling is just hoping you get lucky. So at the end of the day, whether it's sports betting, casinos, poly market, it's all gambling, and you should all stay away from this. If you don't stay away from this, this will be a quick speed run to poverty. Next up on the list here is buying designer clothes. And look, I get liking nice things. I don't know if you guys know the brand Supreme, but when I was in high school and college, I was a Supreme demon. Like, I would stock the drops every Thursday, buy them, and I would always buy clothes thinking I could resell them. But we all know it doesn't work like that. Pretty much the value of clothing, once you have any wear and tear on it, you lose all the value of it. And it's one of those things that the quality really isn't even up to par for what you're paying for. And most of the times you'll see people in their 20s buying designer clothes because they want to show off to their friends. They think it's cool, it's in right now, it's trending. But at the end of the day, a lot of the clothes too just look absolutely ridiculous and just have logos stamped everywhere. And the worst part is, it seems like the general person who spends a lot of their money on designer clothes typically is the same person who has no savings, is completely in debt, and usually has nothing invested. I mean, I remember working as a mechanic. You would get a guy come in full Gucci, full designer, whatever it might be, and then you would tell him an oil change is $75 and he would have a heart attack because he didn't have the money to cover it, yet the shirt he's wearing is like $650. So these people like to look rich on the outside, but then their bank account says otherwise, so I don't really understand that. And look, don't get me wrong, if you're already wealthy and you want luxury items, like that's cool, I get it. But if you're blowing a huge amount of money on clothes just to impress other people and you don't have the actual finances to cover it, I mean, at this point, you're just lighting money on fire. Next up is one I try to make sure everyone stays away from, and that's loaning money. This is probably one of the fastest ways to lose not only your money, but just ruin relationships, whether it's friends or family. And most of the times when people ask to borrow money from you, it's because they're struggling financially. Like, no one asks to borrow money if they're in a good situation, which means there's a really high percentage that you're not going to get that money back anytime soon. And unfortunately, once money gets involved, things get very weird for both parties. Like, a lot of people treat money in a very weird way. So the minute you start loaning it out to friends or family, typically it's going to strain the relationship pretty hard if you don't get what's expected back. So if you ever loan money, you should just be mentally okay with never seeing it again. And I know this can get very tricky because, once again, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's family, and you feel bad for them and you want to help them. But typically 9 times out of 10, this never goes as expected and always puts strain on the relationship. So this, in my opinion, you should just have the expectation that this is just lighting money on fire. Next up on the list here is meaningful travel. Now, I have a tier list that I've posted before where I kind of talk bad about traveling, but the reason in my video is because I don't think people should be going into insane amounts of debt just to travel. However, if you're in your 20s, you have low responsibilities, you're smart with your finances, you're responsible, you're disciplined, and you have no kids, I think going on one good, meaningful travel trip is always a great thing to do, especially if it's like a bucket list trip, going somewhere you've always wanted to see. Because the truth is, traveling can genuinely change your perspective on life, and it's always good to see how other places in the world operate, how other people live on a day-to-day basis. However, the key word is meaningful. Like, once again, I would not recommend traveling just to travel. I would recommend traveling if it's something you've always wanted to do, if it's a bucket list thing, if you have low responsibilities, and it's not going to force you into debt. Like, if you have the money to cover travel, you have a decent job, you can afford it, I would say this is a good way to actually spend your money in your 20s. However, I'm still going to put it in the situational column because, once again, very situational here. Pretty much you have to check all the boxes for me to think this is an actually good idea. Next up on the list here is investing in your health, and this should be top priority for pretty much anyone at any age, honestly. A lot of people in their 20s kind of push this down the road and think like, I'll worry about my health later. But honestly, the sooner you can worry about your health, pretty much the better, because a lot of people don't correlate that the healthier you are, the easier it actually is to make money. Because if you're healthy, your energy is going to be higher, your focus is going to be higher, confidence is typically going to be higher, and just your ability to perform well in your life, at your job, with side hustles, whatever it might be, is just going to get a lot better the healthier you are. Plus, we don't want to be 50 years old, unhealthy, not being able to actually enjoy the money we've worked for. And unfortunately, like I mentioned, a lot of people wait till something goes wrong to actually treat their health seriously. This, investing in your health, is life-changing, and there's pretty much no debate with this one. Next up on the list here is leaving your money in a checking account. So if you have $10,000 just sitting around and it's just collecting dust in a checking account, this is probably one of the worst things you can do long term for your finances. And obviously, it's nowhere near as bad as like gambling or donating to streamers. But the problem is your money's just going to sit there earning zero interest while inflation is going to eat away at the value of your money every single year. So even something simple like putting it into a high yield savings account, that could earn you a couple $100 every single year with pretty much no risk involved. And even better, if you could invest part of that $10,000 or part of that money sitting in a checking account, the long-term difference will be massive because now that money's actually working for you rather than just sitting in a checking account losing value every single day. So this is one of those things I'm gonna say is situational. The reason why is some people like to keep a certain amount in their checking for like monthly expenses, but overall, this does kind of lean on the lighting money on fire. So just make sure that if you have money sitting in a checking account, it's there for the right reason, because if not, you can absolutely deploy that in other places to actually grow your money better. Next up on the list here is blowing your money on nights out, and I just will never understand this. Like, I understand the part where it's like, it feels fun in the moment, you're young, you're enjoying your life, but there's absolutely no return on investment with anything like this. Like, pretty much the next morning, the next day, you're gonna forget everything that happened, and it just leaves you with nothing. And I get it, like, people wanna go to clubs, they wanna get drinks, they wanna go out, but unfortunately, this is one of those things that will and can turn into a lifestyle for a lot of people in their 20s. And every single week, every single weekend, they're going out, blowing money, and then they wonder why they can't ever get ahead financially. And this is pretty much the reason why. And the crazy part is a lot of people don't even realize how much money they're spending because it does happen every single weekend. So I just don't really understand spending your money on this. Plus, also from my experience too, a lot of people don't actually even enjoy doing this. It's just socially acceptable. So they decide to do it, and then pretty much for the whole next week, they're talking shit about the night out they had until the process repeats itself. So for me in this situation, this is just lighting money on fire. I will never understand this personally, and that's just how I feel about it. Next up on the list here is using that $10,000 as a house down payment. Now, in the housing market we're in right now, more than likely $10,000 isn't going to really do that much for you. However, my opinion on buying a house, while I definitely don't think it should be kind of like the automatic goal for everyone in their 20s, it's kind of one of those things that when you're ready to do it and you have the finances to do it, you kind of just have to do it, because a lot of people, kind of like the stock market, they wait for it to crash, like they wait for the housing market to crash to get a good price. But just like the stock market, no one knows when the bottom's going to be. No one knows when the crash is coming. So it's kind of one of those things you just have to pull the trigger on and just hope that it appreciates every single year. Now, for me, this definitely goes in the situational column just because, it varies by state to state. It varies by country to country. Some states, $10,000 is enough for a down payment. Some states, it's not. It depends on your budget. So overall, using this type of money for a house down payment is very situational. Once again, base it off your finances, go from there. Next up on the list here is chasing gains, and the reason I used Benjamin's YouTube channel as a screenshot is because this is someone you listen to and you think there's no way this guy would ever lose his money, and then 2 months ago he posts a video about how he started chasing gains and got a little too cocky and lost his life savings. And the reason I'm showing that is just because this can literally happen to anyone. Don't think just because you're in any type of situation you'll mitigate any type of risk. If you chase gains, more than likely you will lose money, because chasing gains is going to lead you to making decisions that you probably should not actually make. So me personally, I would highly advise everyone to stay away from chasing gains. That's why when I invest, I like to invest for long-term growth rather than quick-term gain, because by doing this, once again, you're just going to make bad decisions. So this is speedrunning poverty, and this can be in the form of many different things. It can be gambling, it can be prediction markets, it can be investing, stock picking, it can be options, literally it can be crypto, whatever it might be. Just try to be level-headed with investing and not get too hyper-focused on chasing quick gains. Next up is taking this $10,000 and going and putting a down payment on a new car. Now I would say, based off the comments, I'd say you guys are pretty much 50-50 split on whether buying a new car or buying a used car is a better idea. I'm still against a new car because more than likely you really don't need a $30,000 car. You really don't need a $40,000 car. I've had plenty of cars, and I pretty much know that once you get over a certain amount, you're just buying what you want at that point, not what you actually need. What you do need is a used, reliable car. What you want is a new car. You have to really make that make sense for this to make sense. But overall, buying a new car, with that $10,000 as a down payment, putting yourself into a high monthly payment, high interest, this is just lighting money on fire. Try to stay away from doing this. I know it's hard. This is my biggest trap that I've ever fallen into, but if you can stay away from it, your finances will start trending in the right direction. Next up on the list here is taking that $10,000 and rolling that into an emergency fund. This is probably one of the best places to park your money in your 20s. Now, I highly recommend, if you are going to do this, you put this into a high yield savings account. And honestly, even if you have $10,000 in a checking account, and you don't have a savings account, you should still open a savings account and start putting money into it, because by separating the two, one is a lot harder to access mentally, and by having a true savings account, it will make a lot of people a lot more disciplined with actually not touching that money, because this is life changing. I mean, anything that goes wrong in life, car problems, health problems, work problems, if you have this money to fall back on, you're going to just be way less stressed in your life. Next up on the list here is professional courses. Note, I say professional courses. I'm not talking about YouTuber courses. I'm not talking about investing courses. I'm not talking about all these scam courses that you see online nowadays. If you have a course out there that you want to take and it's a few $100s and it actually applies to your job and it can actually make you money from an accredited university, place, whatever it might be, I highly recommend doing this. Like, I actually have a professional course on my resume. I'm a data analyst. I took the Google Data Analytics certificate from Coursera, and I think it cost me like $40 a month, and it took me like 6 months to complete. I think it looks pretty good on my resume. If you have a professional course out there that you really want to take and it's going to look good on your resume and actually maybe lead to you making more money, I think this is a good use of your money for sure. Next up on the list here is a home office investment. If you work remotely, if you're doing school full time and you have some money laying around, I definitely think upgrading your home office or workspace is a great idea. I did this a little bit ago, and it just, every time I sit at my desk, I just feel like I'm ready to work. I'm ready to actually lock in and do whatever I need to do. And usually the worse your home setup, the harder it is to actually stay focused and motivated on what you're doing. The better your home setup, the more you actually want to spend time there and actually get your projects done, get your homework done, get your work done, whatever it might be. So I always think home office investments are a good use of your money. Next up on the list here is maxing your Roth IRA. This is one of the best things you can do with $10,000 in your 20s. Basically, a Roth IRA, if you don't know, it allows your investments to grow tax-free, which becomes insanely powerful over time. Now, the only issue with the Roth IRA is anything you earn in that account, you can't touch it until retirement ages, and that typically turns a lot of people off because this is a true retirement account. Like, ideally, the money you put in here, you do not want to touch until you're 59 and a half. And right now, you can put around $7,500 a year into it. So if you start early enough, this can pay off a lot over time. The compounding will be insane. And I know you've seen calculators out there and probably videos out there, but this could realistically turn into hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars by the time you reach retirement ages. So this is probably, unfortunately, like the most boring thing on the list. But if you can do this, it will change your life. Also, even if you have a maxed Roth IRA or you don't want to open a Roth IRA, any type of investing kind of falls into the same bucket. Now, obviously, I'm talking about long-term investing. Like, the stuff you should be buying in your Roth IRA is going to be stuff like S&P 500, total world funds, long-term safe growth funds, no stock picking, no crazy stuff, no crypto, anything like that. That can all stay out of your Roth IRA. If you do this the right way, safe long-term investments, this is life-changing, and there's just no debate about it. Next up on the list here is paying off debt, more specifically high interest debt. If you have money on your credit cards, anything like that, I'm a full believer that you should take any type of cash, liquid cash you have, and pay off your high interest debt. Once again, there's plenty of calculators out there, things you can look at online. But for example, if you have $2,000 on a credit card at 30% interest and you got $5,000 sitting in your bank account, just pay off the $2,000. Like, I know it's not going to seem fun. I know it's going to feel like it's taking a big chunk of your money away, but it's just going to put you ahead, because instead of paying that 30% interest on $2,000, you can just cut all of it off right then and there. Ideally, if you can get out of your 20s with no high interest debt, you will be so far ahead in life than probably 90% of 30-year-olds. So paying off high interest debt, this is life-changing, no debate about it. I highly recommend using your money to pay off debt. Next up on the list here is starting a side hustle or side business with any type of cash you might have. I think this is a great way to actually use your money in your 20s. Now, I do talk bad publicly about side hustles and businesses, because it seems like every YouTuber nowadays is just telling you to start a YouTube channel, go start a side hustle, go start a side business, and in 6 months you'll quit your job. Obviously, it's not that easy. I've been doing YouTube for a year now, and I don't even plan on quitting my job anytime soon because I just don't make the money to do that. So it's one of those things that if you can realistically start a side hustle or a business with the money you have, and it's not going to hurt you financially and it's not going to bring you too far into debt, I do recommend at least trying it, because, like everyone says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if this is something you've been wanting to do for a while, you have the money to do it, you're responsible, you're disciplined, I say go for it, try it, and obviously maybe try to mitigate some of the expenses up front. Like, don't just go dropping $10,000 into a side business. But if you can take, $500, $1,000, start branding, start looking at things, I would say try it, because overall, this is a good use for your money, because this honestly can have huge payoffs if everything goes in the right direction and goes how you'd want it to. So that is my tier list on what I believe are the best and the worst ways to actually spend $10,000 in your 20s. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. Let me know if there's anything I missed off this tier list. Tried to keep this one a little bit shorter than my previous ones. But overall, thank you guys for watching. Once again, if you like the tier list content, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.